What's up, guys? The fight night of Cannonier versus Gregory Rodrigues is wrapped up, and it was a card for sure. Now, I would say this card was like a 5 out of 10, but what might be a better card is UFC 313. This video is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, and now an official partner with the UFC. And just like the athletes fight in the cage, Morgan & Morgan will also fight for their clients. Morgan & Morgan is giving away 2 tickets to the Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev fight in Las Vegas, plus $2,000. An amazing card with great fights, and many others throughout the whole card. You get a chance to win by going to morganufc.com, a dream for any UFC fan. And all you have to do is click the link in the description below or head to morganufc.com/weasel to enter the contest and to see if you can win. It'd be awesome to see you guys there. There were some good performances like Gabriel Bonfim's submission against Khaos Williams was crazy. Valter walking getting a very fast submission against Dante Almeidas. Cannonier's comeback win. Jose Delgado destroying Conor Matthews. Just amazing performances, but then there were also some frustrating performances where fighters are throwing away a chance at winning, like Jesus Aguilar trying to shoot takedowns and grapple with Rafael Estevam, knowing that Estevam is clearly the better grappler of the two, and Aguilar is clearly the better striker of the two. But instead, Aguilar refused to keep the fight standing and wanted to just continue grappling with Estevam and lost the decision because of it. And I think Gregory Rodrigues and Budka would have had a better chance at winning if they try to wrestle more or try to take the fight to the ground more than they were. I don't even remember if Budka shot a single takedown in the fight. Whereas Rodrigues, he shot a few takedowns, but they were all like half attempts. Like, he wasn't really trying to get the fight to the ground like that. He was mostly trying to strike with Cannonier when he is the grappler of the two. And Cannonier's biggest weakness is his grappling. A few fights were very close. There's a robbery in the fight of Angela Hill versus Caitlin Souza. Some good performances though, some good finishes. If I were to say which was the best fight of the card, definitely the main event, Cannonier versus Gregory Rodrigues, a huge comeback. And the performances of the night, I would probably say Jose Delgado and Gabriel Bonfim. You could give it to Edmen Shahbazyan, but that was obvious. He was going to knock him out. Budka is just not on that level. And with Nazim Sadykhov, he also had a finish, but it was a confusing finish as Ismael Bonfim got kicked in the eye and he didn't get knocked out or anything. He just couldn't continue in the second round because of the doctor stoppage, but he could have lost his eyesight just like Michael Bisping did, right? Bisping got kicked in the head by Vitor Belfort and literally lost his eye because of it. Hopefully he's okay though, but we'll start with that main event. The main event was solid. You just never want to see fighters gas out like that in a main event. I mean, you train for a 5-round fight and you gas after like what, the first or second rounds. It was a step down in competition for Cannonier, but it showed that if he could survive the first round, he was going to win the fight, which I didn't think Rodrigues would have that bad of cardio, right? I thought Rodrigues would be able to last at least 3 going good. I thought that Rodrigues would eventually finish him in like the 3rd round or something, like 3rd or 4th rounds. I did not expect Rodrigues to gas out after the 1st and 2nd rounds like that. I mean, he's literally shown better cardio in other fights, and he trained those for 3 rounds. He had better cardio for 3-round fights, 3-round training camp. Now that he's training for a 5-round fight the first time in his career, he has worse cardio, which is crazy. But Cannonier also survived the 1st round. He got dropped twice in that round and was able to rally his way back to a win in the 4th. Huge comeback win for Cannonier. And how did he take those shots? But he couldn't recover that well against Nasruddin Imavov and Caio Borralho when they hurt him. Well, Borralho and Imavov both landed on the jaw of Cannonier, so the shot placement was different. They had better precision than Gregory Rodrigues. It looked like Rodrigues hit like the top of the ear, like toward the top of the head, around that area, maybe around the temple. And it looked like Cannonier lost his equilibrium, not necessarily got rocked the way it did when Borralho dropped him, right? Rodrigues landed the punch, Cannonier's equilibrium was off, he got dropped, recovered, and continued to fight, right? It's a different amount of impact when you hit someone on the jaw versus like on the top of the ear. Although against Imavov, it was a very early stoppage, but he recovered a lot better here against Rodrigues than he did against Imavov. But Rodrigues' cardio should have been better in this fight, especially for the fact that he trained for 5 rounds. It's a main event. He wants to be a top 10 fighter. You have to have cardio. What was more surprising was how quickly Rodrigues gassed out. He's literally shown better cardio in 3-round fights with a 3-round training camp. And he didn't really commit for his takedowns that much either. Like, he shot 3 takedowns, but they were all like half-baked takedowns. Like, he wasn't trying to actually get the fight to the ground. He wanted to KO Cannonier, and especially after the 1st round where he dropped him twice. He tried to secure that knockout, but it was like the worst thing for him in the fight because striking with Cannonier for the long haul was eventually going to lose him that fight. Cannonier is the more technical striker, good enough to outstrike someone like Rodrigues over 4 rounds. And Cannonier got that 4th round TKO, landed good jabs, went to the body, good feints in the 2nd round as well, which is a big reason as to why Rodrigues was backing up as much as he was compared to the 1st round, because Rodrigues had a very good right straight and a very good left hook. Those are the main 2 punches he was landing consistently on Cannonier. But if he mixed in takedowns and committed with those shots a lot more, because he did shoot takedowns, but he didn't really try to get the fight to the ground as much as he should. He is a grappler at the end of the day. Cannonier's biggest weakness is his grappling. I think there was a lack of fight IQ from Rodrigues' side there, and trying to beat Cannonier where he's at his strongest, but eventually Cannonier dropped him in the third round with an elbow after Rodrigues going for a knee, so he launched himself upward to throw a knee, chin open for the elbow of Cannonier, dropping him, and then in the fourth round, an even slower and more tired Rodrigues gets finished against the fence from the punching combination of Cannonier, ripping shots to the body, hooks up top, and winning the fight off of that. An amazing win for Jared Cannonier. A lot of us thought that he was gonna lose to this other rising contender, but I guess Rodrigues isn't really a quote-unquote contender. He was literally going from unranked to fight the number 7 fighter in the world. It was a huge step down in competition for Jared Cannonier. Finished him in the fourth round. Cannonier should at least keep his spot, but he shouldn't go up above Caio Borralho, right? Caio Borralho just beat him last year, so who should fight Jared Cannonier next? Maybe Brendan Allen? Or what about this fight? Anthony Hernandez, right? Because Cannonier's already fought a lot of the guys above him. Almost everybody that's ranked above him, actually. The fighter below him is Marvin Vettori. Below that is Brendan Allen, but you could do the Allen fight. I like the Hernandez fight more. And as for Gregory Rodrigues, they could do him versus Sure Bullet. That'd be a good fight. And then in the co-main event, it was a track race where Youssef Zalal outran Calvin Kattar after the first round. But Zalal did have a good performance, right? He was outstriking him, outboxing Calvin Kattar, landing the jab up top to the body, great leg kicks, good movement. But just in that third round especially, he was literally running away from Calvin Kattar. It could be effective in a fight, but it's just not something you want to see against some of the best fighters in the world. So hopefully he doesn't run away from, Ilia Topuria, because Ilia's going to be putting a lot of pressure on him. They have fought before, but Zalal is a different fighter now. So if he's running away from the pressure of Calvin Kattar, who's not in his prime anymore, can you imagine how fast he would run when he fights Diego Lopez and Ilia Topuria? And the thing is, I don't understand why he was doing that. I mean, he has the defense to slip the punches and just not get hit and land counter shots. When he was engaging the striking with Calvin Kattar, he was getting the better of his opponent. He was landing the shots. Again, he was outboxing Kattar, so I don't know why he was running away. Like, there were some moments where he would shoulder roll punches and angle off with one step to evade a punch and counter with his own jab. But then you'll also see him running away. It's like two polar opposites of defense. Sometimes it looks like he's confident staying in front of Calvin Kattar, and other times it looks like he's panicking. The defense just didn't seem consistent, and where it worked for this fight, it probably will not work when he fights the best fighters in the featherweight division. There were moments when he was moving around the cage where he did have good defense, right? He was getting away from punches, slipping them, but then the running increased. He started to run more and more to the point where it looked like he just wanted to get away from Calvin Kattar. He was increasingly running more after the first round. In the second round, it was like he was just moving around. Then he started upping the pace when he was moving around, and then it turned into running at the end of the third round. Ultimately, a good win for Youssef Zalal. He just beat the number 10, Calvin Kattar. And for his next fight, I think he should go up against maybe Aljamain Sterling. And as for Calvin Kattar, a fight between him and Edson Barboza would be good. It's actually crazy they never fought each other. I think we got Edmen Shahbazyan getting an easy win against Dylan Budka. This is a very easy pick. Dylan Budka, not really great anywhere. As I said in my prediction video, Edmen Shahbazyan is just the overall better fighter. He does almost everything better than Budka. And he has better cardio, but it didn't matter because he finished him in the first round. So the fight was even easier for Edmen than we thought it was going to be. But Budka really wasn't shooting takedowns. He didn't mix it up. He was throwing out high kicks and jabs and trying to get into a technical striking match with Edmen Shahbazyan. And again, another fight in this card where one of the fighters didn't show great fight IQ. First Gregory Rodrigues and now Dylan Budka. He double jabbed his way in, dropped his hand, and Edmen Shahbazyan backstep for a right straight over the shoulder and finished the fight. Textbook counterpunching from Edmen Shahbazyan, one of the easiest wins in his career. Then Nazim Sadykhov finished Ismael Bonfim in between the first and second rounds off of a head kick. So Bonfim could not see out of his right eye, I guess, according to the doctor. It's because he took a head kick to the eye. No, those could be dangerous. Michael Bisping lost his eye because of that, right? Vitor Belfort kicked Michael Bisping in the head and it tore his retina. And the foot of Sadykhov went right into Bonfim's eye. So hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he can continue to fight moving forward. And he was doing great throughout the fight too. Landing right hands, switch kicks to the leg. The fight was competitive. It looked like Ismael Bonfim was winning, but then Sadykhov threw the question mark kick perfectly up the center, then around to the head, and Bonfim tried to reach down for the kick. He tried to reach and grab onto it, lowering his head into the foot, causing the finish. So good win for Nazim Sadykhov. And that fight was shaping up to be the best fight on the card, man. These guys were technical, they were fighting well, and I thought it was a good finish. Andre Petroski defeats Rodolfo Vieira by decision. Not the greatest fight. I thought Vieira won. Very close fight. I could see Vieira winning it, but wasn't a great fight altogether. Petroski was able to defend almost every takedown. The grapplers made it a striking match, and sometimes that happens. But I thought Vieira won 2 of the rounds. He landed some good punches. He was the aggressor if the strikes were close. Especially in the second round, he was landing a lot better punches. Jabs, right straights, hooks against the fence. But if they give Petroski the first and third rounds, I guess I have to rewatch it. Those were close rounds, but I thought Vieira won the first and second rounds. Wasn't the most exciting fight, which usually happens when two grapplers strike for most of the match. So, and Bo Nickel talked about the fight. He said that he'd make the Petroski fight look easy. As dull as that fight was, man, Bo Nickel is athletic. He's going to be the faster fighter, but I think Petroski might be stronger and might have the better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu if the fight goes to the ground. I think that's actually a competitive fight. And then Jose Delgado finishes Kattar Matthews in the first round, exactly as I said this fight was going to be finished. Delgado switches stances, throws those power punches in sequence. Kattar Matthews leans away from the punches and gets dropped for it. Amazing win for Jose Delgado, even landing a spinning back fist after missing the high kick. Good footwork, and fire through the openings with his kicks and the punching combinations as he's switching stances forward. Right, Dennis Bazooki was landing punches, reaching it with overhands as Kattar Matthews was leaning away from them. And then Angela Hill wins a decision against Caitlin Souza. I picked Caitlin Souza as the underdog to win the fight, and they robbed her. I don't know, maybe they know Angela Hill, maybe they're friends with her, she's been around for a long time, they have tattoo bias or something, they don't like Caitlin Souza's tats, or I don't know what it was. There's no way Angela Hill won that fight. So she won the first round, she got the takedown, landed knee to the body on the ground, had good top position, but then the second round was Caitlin Souza's. She landed the bigger punches, landed the bigger strikes, spinning kicks to the body and head, right hands, lunging left hook against the fence. Angela Hill landed some light kicks and jabs and right straights, but nothing had like as much power or impact as Caitlin Souza, and I think Souza landed more strikes in the round as well. So I'm curious to see if they gave the second round to Angela Hill, because in the third round, yes, Angela Hill got the takedown, but didn't do a whole lot with it. She got outstruck in the stand-up after. Right straights, jabs, right uppercut, body shots, hit Angela Hill with that single sweep that Islam got on Dustin Poirier. Bro, she wins in my book just for that technique alone, but she did win the fight, right? She won the second and third rounds, 100%. But they gave the fight to Angela Hill. They couldn't let the underdog win when she actually deserved the win. And the Rafael Estevam versus Jesus Aguilar. Another fight where a fighter had not great fight IQ, where Estevam won a decision, merely just shooting takedowns, getting the better top positions, and Jesus Aguilar shooting takedowns against Estevam was so crazy. Jesus Aguilar has good submissions, he's good at jiu-jitsu, but he was fighting a much better grappler going into the fight. And he was clearly the better striker going into the fight, but refused to keep the fight standing. That's what Estevam does. He shoots constantly, tries to get the submissions. He's merely a grappler with a few striking skills, but that's it. Jesus Aguilar was clearly the better striker going into the fight. He shot a takedown at the start of the fight and continued to wrestle even though he was getting out-grappled. He was getting reversed, got taken down multiple times, and still just refused to keep the fight standing. He was the one shooting takedowns against the better grappler. Aguilar is a good grappler too. Aguilar has good submissions. He has good jiu-jitsu, but it was clear, but he needed to keep the fight standing and he refused to do that. Estevam is a grappler and he's much better at it than Aguilar. But Aguilar, I don't know if it was a pride thing or something, but he wanted to beat Estevam in the grappling when he was clearly the better striker. And it showed in the third round. Once he kept the fight standing, he was winning. He was landing punches. There's so many fighters who shoot takedowns when they could have just won the fight by keeping it standing. And then we do Gabriel Bonfim choking Khaos Williams to sleep in the first round when Khaos Williams was exploding for his punches, trying to get the knockout. Bonfim was getting under for takedowns, picked him up and slammed him twice, tried to get the back, and the round ended with a Von Flue choke. But then in the second round, Williams explodes a few more times, Bonfim getting away, but then eventually counters with a takedown again. And as Williams bumps and moves him off a full mount, he gets into his base and Bonfim chokes him out with the Darce choke, puts him to sleep. Amazing win from Gabriel Bonfim. And then Elijah Smith defeats Vince Morales by a decision. This is a very close fight. Some people thought Morales won because of the submissions, but it wasn't just that, right? He did land some good punches as well. Elijah Smith had the better striking throughout. He was landing the bigger shots overall, but I don't think the guillotine in the first round would have won it for Morales. He had the arm around the neck but didn't have body control. Second round, both guys landing punches. Smith got the takedown, had an even closer rear naked choke, but then Morales gets him even better Darce choke after, and somehow Smith was able to get out of it. Morales gets him to another choke, and Smith survived that one as well. But here's the thing, surviving the submissions is not going to give you the round. Morales almost choked him out twice. You would have to give that second round to Morales. So 1-1 going to the third, and Smith cut open Morales with a left elbow, then right uppercut combination. Smith was landing the better shots throughout the fight. Leg kicks, right hand counters, right straights, power jabs. Just much more powerful strikes. But then Morales gets him into a bulldog choke at the end of the third round. Because of that, a lot of people think that Morales stole the round, but I don't know if that was enough. I mean, according to the scoring criteria, it does say whoever gets closer to finishing the fight is the one who wins the round. You could argue that that bulldog choke was the closest that either fighter got to finishing the fight in that third round. Even though Smith was landing punches while in the bulldog choke, people do have that argument that the choke there should win the third round, but I don't know, it's a tough one. It's a really close fight. I can see both arguments arguments. Off of watching the fight one time, I think Elijah Smith won, but I can see how people think that Vince Morales won the second and third rounds. And then Valter Walker submits Dontel Mayes in the first round. Before the fight started, he literally showed him that he was going to shoot a takedown. He went across the cage just like a wrestler, ready to shoot a takedown. Dontel Mayes was sweating. I don't know. He had a full workout before the fight. And Walker shoots less than 20 seconds into the fight, gets the double leg on top in half guard, and was so confident. He pulls back into the heel hook and gets that submission. When do you see heel hooks in modern MMA? Dontel Mayes, it looked like he got stuck on the fence trying to defend against it, and easy win for Valter Walker. And now Walker might be a top 15 fighter because Dontel Mayes was. And if you submit a top 15 guy in the first round like that, you should also be ranked as well. Yeah, the heavyweight division doesn't have the best talent, but Walker is definitely a better top 15 guy than some of the other ranked fighters in that weight class. Like, I think he could beat Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis like that. And in fact, that should be his next fight. Tai Tuivasa versus Valter Walker. And then Jacqueline Cavalcanti defeats Julia Avila, just being the longer fighter, better distance management. Avila too stiff to get in close and land her own punches. The way Cavalcanti is just landing jabs and straights and leg kicks and uppercuts from range. Literally just fighting behind the jab was all Cavalcanti needed to win this fight. As long as she starts every offense and defense with a jab, she'll win that fight. Just because the skills at distance are so vast, Cavalcanti's way better at range than Avila is. But Avila did have some good leg kicks though. So that was the fight card, and a few fights that were very close. Caitlin Souza should have won her fight, and Jared Cannonier is still a top 10 fighter of the middleweight division. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, I hope you guys enjoyed the fights, and if you guys did, make sure to leave in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.